In a year in which so much social change and activism has taken place in our nation, we took the time to converse with several Gonzaga students about some of the issues that have been most important to them. Jacob Corder, a senior at Gonzaga University, spoke about one of the most pressing issues facing the global community today: climate change.
A social justice cause that matters a lot to me is environmentalism. And the reason for that is, well, we can see the impacts all around the world. We have the global warming that's going on all around the world. We see temperatures rising, sea levels rising, the polar ice caps melting a bit. This is all causing a bit of imbalance within the ecosystem that we live in today. And that can also be seen with the animals. We see polar bears dying. We are seeing the impact of bees being diminished because the impacts of cities that are being built. And I think at the end of the day, we do need to do something to reverse this trend.
Another Gonzaga student who passionately spoke about preserving the future of our world is junior Garrison Pinkley.
As an Eagle Scout, I've always been passionate about wildlife conservation, and with many species going extinct year after year, the Earth's losing a valuable ecosystem. I want to make sure that generations after me are able to go on the same backpacking trips and explore the wilderness in the same ways that I've been able to.
This all started in a class that I took last semester called Climate Change Politics, and in that we learned a lot about the natural resources of what's happening within the political atmosphere when it comes to passing climate change bills. And there's really not a lot that gets passed, even with those who are really hardcore defending passing climate change bills in order to help the environment. But I would say that what really stuck with me is just the types of energies and the way that we can get around in trying to restore the planet to where it once was. And I'm optimistic, and I'm hoping we can get to that point somewhere in the future. And hopefully Joe Biden, once COVID is gone, that Joe Biden can start to look back at that and start making changes to really make the world a better place again.
You know, Gonzaga does make some steps in trying to preserve the environment, but I feel like a lot of times they're small. Gonzaga invests in fossil fuels, and I don't think that backwards thinking is progressive enough for a school like Gonzaga. And I don't think that it holds with Gonzaga's mission statement to preserve a better future.
While Greta Thunberg does an excellent job at getting people's attentions to get the ball rolling, we need to actually talk the talk. And we were close during earlier last year when Greta was at the peak of her popularity. However, then COVID hit, and then, well, things started to fall apart. But we need to get back on the ball and start focusing again on climate issues as COVID-19 is starting to diminish in its impact.
Since Gonzaga is investing in fossil fuels, I find it really disappointing, since there are better alternatives like solar wind panels, like solar wind turbines. I think that there's small improvements that Gonzaga can make on campus. For instance, Kennedy Apartments, there isn't yard waste or compost where you can throw away your vegetables, and I think that that's a missed opportunity to help create a conservation mindset across campus. I mean, personally, I feel like a lot of people are just brainwashed. I mean, I think a lot of people who don't think that climate change is happening are not paying attention to the science. They're not witnessing what's happening to a lot of the glaciers. For instance, Glacier National Park in Alaska is shrinking. I've seen that myself. I grew up in Alaska for a couple of years, and the glacier was a lot larger than it was when I visited just a couple of years ago. And it makes me passionate about it and makes me upset sometimes.
Chloe Crawford, a member of the LGBTQ+ community, was able to give us a great deal of insight into the importance of social justice issues associated with their community and cause.
A social justice issue that I believe in is the LGBTQ community, and specifically rights associated with that. It's important to me because I'm a member of the queer community. It would be kind of difficult to not have it be important to me. But yeah, started probably 3 years ago when I was just questioning gender, sexuality, all that, where I fitted in the world. I've been to a couple events here on campus. I know that there's the Lavender graduation, which is specifically a smaller graduation ceremony for queer students. And there's been a couple of other big, educational queer events on campus over the years. It's a lot of speeches and other educational aspects, like I said, about the queer community and how different aspects of the queer community interact with the world. Yeah, so it's very, very educational, and they invite all sorts of people that also aren't in the queer community. It's impactful to me because, like I said, it's my life. It's really, really important that I stand up for myself and other people like me. And it's impactful in general, just representation matters, you know? As if people can see people being out and queer publicly, it's really, really important for just survival rates, honestly.
Though the issue he spoke most passionately about doesn't have quite the same severity or ramifications as the global climate crisis, Gonzaga freshman Nick Cohen spoke about the problems associated with the mistreatment of collegiate athletes.
And I find it super messed up how NCAA players don't get paid at all because they're the ones sacrificing their bodies and injuries, and they're not getting paid at all. You know, it first started when I came here and I met some of the players and I found out, oh, they're not getting paid. I'm like, wow. It really just says a lot about how the players are making the school so much money and they're not getting anything in return. So that's how I feel.
So something I feel passionate about is equality in the workplace, particularly when it comes to women and breaking that glass ceiling. So I grew up in a very non-traditional home. My dad was actually a stay-at-home dad and my mom was the breadwinner. And so I got to see kind of how women are able to balance work and home life, which tends to be an argument as to why it's not equal. And then I came here to GU and started to hear about other experiences of women and how that is not, how they haven't been able to do what my mother was able to do, just with different opportunities. And so fell in love with the idea. Obviously it affects me personally. So I have experienced different, how do I want to put this, managers that have treated me differently based on me being a girl. So that's just in a personal experience. I haven't been able to go to any events this particular year, but in a lot of my classes, I try to bring up this topic and engage in this discussion, particularly in employment law. We've had many class periods about this. So just from a business standpoint, when you're looking at the population you serve, 50% roughly are women. And so to have that representation in the actual workplace would help you serve half your customer base better, just from a business standpoint. But then, like me personally, it does affect me. I would like to be as successful as possible and just have it based purely on my talents and not different identities that I don't have as much control over. So I think it starts with small things. Spreading awareness, I think, is the biggest thing. We're all coming to college with different experiences, so I think this is a really great opportunity to start to learn about this issue in particular, but others as well, and then start with changing in how you interact with men and women in the workplace and kind of make it more unbiased and just kind of based on their own abilities, and then slowly we'll build up. Obviously there's more like administrative stuff, but that's something college kids can do.
Though the last year has brought about many positive changes for the social and political climate in our country, it's important to remember that going forward, we keep a keen focus on building a more equal and brighter future for our nation. For GUTV, I'm Nathan Gustafson.